Well, it's true. You guys were asking about it on the Monday night Q&A. It has happened. Mecole Hardman is on his way back to the Kansas City Chiefs. Sorry, we're going to try to get the lights on here because it's a little bit last minute. Didn't think this was coming, but hey, you never know. It's certainly a good fit. Mecole Hardman has been on this roster before. We don't have to imagine what he's going to look like. The thumbnail makes itself because Mecole's put in some time on this roster. How does he fit into this? He can play outside if he needs to. I think he's still better in the slot. That's just me. Plenty of slot players on this team, but where Rashee Rice is going, I think allows him to play on the outside a little bit more. And I think that fit is A, it gives you that juice down the field. B, it gives you somebody who knows the offense, at least somewhat. Always questions around Mecole and where exactly he was with it. But hey, you guys had asked about that the other night, and I really didn't see how the target share was going to come around. That was with the expectation that Justin Watson would be back. This puts that in a little bit of a cloud right now. Is Justin Watson more significantly hurt than we originally thought? Is it going to be a surgical repair? Is it going to be a longer timeout? That's really the question. So, David, thank you. Welcome back. So for Jet Jr., I'll call him, versus McMillan. Now there's a pair of them. In fact, I need to come up with a logo for something like that. Jets crossed or something. Kevin, he fits in by, it's going to take him a little bit of time, but it's not going to take him long to remember where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to do. Run through all of your routes, Mecole. I mean, I think we're going to hear that a million times. This is going to be something that, as it's reported right now by Adam Schefter, is going to be a swap of late round draft picks. That's what it comes down to. And I think that's perfectly fine. You're not giving up total draft picks. You're not losing a draft slot. You're dropping down some, I'm sure. My guess is they're swapping sixths or something along those lines. We don't have the specific details yet. I'm double checking right now just to see what is in there, if there is any detail. And you know what? Maybe I'll just bring up Shefty's post and we'll take a look at it together so you guys can see it too. Dan's going to make it here in a minute as well. So, in fact, I think I just heard a beep and bada boom, there he is.
What's up?
Devil, there he goes. So I was just going over, I'm going to pull up Schefter's actual report here. I'm guessing it's somewhere around a sixth round swap, but they're not losing draft picks overall. So their number of picks is not going down.
They will be losing a pick. They'll be losing their compensation pick from Juju Smith-Schuster.
Only it all depends on performance. We'll see.
I'm expecting them to lose that pick based off of what we already know that he can do in the system, but it's projected that he will be. I would say he'll be used more often than he won't be used. Let's
Fair
just say
enough.
that.
But I will also say this: that's not part of this deal. That is an outside influence thingamabob. They're not trading a draft pick where they're losing. It's going to be a swap. They'll maintain the same number of draft picks. If they don't get an extra compensatory, okay, fair enough. But in terms of fit, while I pull this up, Kevin asked the question. I kind of like glanced over my thoughts. Where do you see it?
So I would love this to mean that Kadarius Toney is now just a receiver. This would be perfect, honestly, because they've been forcing Kadarius Toney into Mecole Hardman's role, in my opinion, based off of what they've done. They should have been using maybe Justin Watson or even MVS in that role a little bit more often than Kadarius Toney, because he doesn't have the straight line actual speed. Like, he's more of a quick twitch guy. Like, that's what he does better. He's not really a jet sweep player. He's a more get him in space, open in field, and then let him work. Behind the line of scrimmage really isn't his thing. And this hopefully will allow him and allow the Chiefs to use Toney as an actual receiver like he was used in week one. I tweeted that, like, I hope that that's what this means, because that would be the next iteration of this offense, because that's his best usage is what we saw in week one. We haven't seen it since.
I tend to agree with you. I really do see them, like you said, as straight line speed versus change of direction. Toney is a sack guy. That's short area quickness, folks. If you remember all the athletic matrix images in the spider graphs, it's all slanted towards quick cuts, quick areas acceleration versus the long speed, and I think that adds a dimension. This says to me, though, that the other guy that adds that straight line speed dimension is going to be sidelined a lot longer than we originally thought.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes into Justin Watson. I expect to see him go to IR here today, if not earlier. Maybe it's already done and we just don't know yet. Bad break for him. But what this does, and I do want to share the actual post from Shefty, and that is that they signed him to a 1-year, $4 million deal. I don't know how much of that was on bonus. So that's what we have to figure out as terms of what the cap hit turns out, because that's what's going to determine some of your other questions that you guys are asking about. Can Frank still come back? Frank says he's in town. We'll see what happens Thursday, evidently. Whether you could go out and get somebody else. I think there was a question in here as well about Hollywood. I would think that Hollywood was precluded before because his salary is more than they had cap space for. So I think that's still, there's no way that that's on the table at this point.
I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out if he's been hurt. Like, I know that he has been hurt this season. So while he might be expendable, they might just been like, we don't really want to play you and risk re-injury if we're going to be trading you anyway. Like, that's kind of how it feels right now to me. So hopefully, I would imagine the Chiefs wouldn't trade for him if he wasn't fully healthy. It seems kind of redundant or not redundant, but just doesn't make any sense to trade for a player that isn't injured. So they probably had conversations about, well, why haven't you been playing him? You guys, you brought him in, and yes, guys have performed, but he's like the speed guy in your team. You don't have anybody else with the speed that he offers. I know Gibson's a fast guy, and some of their younger players are quick as well, but Hardman's a little bit different. So yeah, I think right now Hollywood Brown's not going to be on the table because the Chiefs now have 7 wide receivers back on their roster. Right. And I would imagine that they might end up sending Montreal Washington back down to the practice squad, allow Mecole Hardman to be your punt returner and have that role in the offense. That way you can also limit your receivers again and be back down to it would be 7 still with Mecole, right? It would still be
if Watson goes to IR. It would
if Watson goes to IR, it would say 7, and then if Washington goes down, it would be 6, right? That's
right.
Okay, so that's how I see that going.
And I agree with all of that, especially because what I will reiterate on is I feel like there's room to continue to develop Justin Ross. Justin Ross is probably the lowest guy outside of Washington on the actual depth chart in terms of usage, right? We know that by snap counts. But I think he's shown enough that he warrants staying on the roster. I don't think you'll get him back to the practice squad. I think he's shown enough flash there. And I really think that they need to double down on now. They have renewed their over-the-top aspect. They have sideswiped their jet action type stuff, unlocking Toney over the middle. You still want to have that go up and get it contested catch aspect of it. The slants that they've done the last few weeks, they have to keep those. And unless they feel that Rashee Rice is a one-man band and he can be Sammy Watkins being the only guy that runs those type routes that you feel comfortable throwing the ball to, I think you have to keep Ross. So I agree. I think that's the way it has to go.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested about how Rashee Rice is going to be developing and how he's been developing, that's going to be coming up later tonight. I know the Mecole Hardman news kind of scooped me on that. So hopefully that doesn't ruin you guys' interest in seeing how the Chiefs' new number 1 receiver is actually producing and playing. But at the end of the day, it does help Rashee Rice a little bit. It allows him to be more focused on the route tree. They don't have to be the wide receiver screen guy for him, even though he's good at it. He is a very good screen receiver and he has juice after the catch. We've seen that. Mecole Hardman now adds a different element. I think he's going to be doing some sprints with MVS to help opening up the middle of the field for Kadarius, Toney, Sky Moore, and Rashee Rice. I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. That's what he's been doing. But also, he's faster than MVS. He's quicker, gets to that top speed quicker. So right now, what we are looking at, in my opinion, is the Chiefs' realization that MVS is nice to have for the deep stuff. He doesn't threaten quickly enough. He doesn't do it enough because defenses don't care. They don't care about him. He's not getting the ball downfield. One thing that Mecole Hardman will change when he's on the field, that back of the mind mentality from the defense to be like, okay, we know he can get behind us quicker than MVS can. So it might adjust a little bit. It might change a little bit of dynamicism here. But again, we're talking about maybe 20% of the snaps that he's going to end up playing anyway. So this is the Chiefs telling you that, well, maybe we might have misunderstood how much his type of speed is important to this offense. Not him, just his type of speed and how quickly he gets there. Because Watson and MVS have been your speed guys. Defenses haven't necessarily taken to that as well as they may have thought originally.
Well, and I'll put it this way too. There's just something about having the history. Mecole Hardman is not as scary in a Jets uniform as he is in a Chiefs uniform.
No.
It's just the basics of it. You know what I mean? So, good for him, good for them. They didn't pay the $4 million. They're going to get him for, I think someone put in what Spot Track had. Just saw it a minute ago. Thank you, Eric. Has his base at $1,080,000. That's vet min. That's what you expect. In terms of the signing bonus, it depends what's been paid out and what the agreement is. If that's still, I want to say that he probably got that mostly up front is going to be my guess.
I think so.
Signing bonus, because it's a 1 year, wasn't it? So it should have been all paid up front.
Absolutely.
So super cheap to add someone who knows the offense. Now, Mecole's always had a couple of issues with the offense, but
I think he had a better year last year being on the same page with Patrick Mahomes than he had in any of his other seasons. And that also tells you they did not want to teach somebody else anything. They said, we don't want to have to deal with that. And everyone was talking about trading for DeAndre Hopkins or bringing in someone else. And they were like, we're already doing this with young guys. Like, we're already doing it. Let's not do it over again.
That's exactly what I was just going to say is like, you already have to do that with the young dudes. Like you have that built-in lag. So yeah, like it makes a ton of sense jumping right to it. Preachers, welcome back to the memberships. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Nick, thank you, welcome, pal. I haven't been keeping up with him. Is he healthy? That's the big question. It feels like he is. And like Dan said earlier, Brett Veach isn't going to trade for somebody that is on the ropes. So I think it's going to be all right. We're going to hit some of your comments. I've seen the social media stuff on Frank as well. We'll see. Every time I think that Frank will be back, I get question marks. So don't count it till it's over. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is that I thought that the two people that we were not going to see back in KC this year were Frank Clark and Mecole Hardman. And Mecole Hardman's back.
Hey,
Clark is be in Kansas City tomorrow and Friday. So all I'm saying is that the Chiefs might just be in. Hey, let's run it back, y'all. Let's do it.
Yeah, never say never. I mean, where's Carlos? That's my next question. You know what? Let's have 17 pass rushers too. What the hell?
Why not?
Jason, good question. Will MVS start losing snaps? I actually don't think so. Because in terms of reliability right now, it'll take Mecole a week or two to get really, I think, back up to speed other than, hey, do your jet thing. And do that long thing. Here, goes and jet sweeps. That's pretty easy. But no, like maybe it'll cut into it eventually. But I really do see Mecole right now in terms of like snap count, a 1-for-1 replacement for Watson, really. The question for me becomes, what's going to go on with Sky? He's needed that bump in targets. And I don't know, Brian, you're thinking the same thing. I don't know where that goes from here.
I don't think that the Mecole Hardman bringing the trade means anything for Sky, because the fact of the matter is that Mecole Hardman's not playing on the outside. He's not. Sky Moore has been playing like 60% of his snaps coming from the outside. So this trade has absolutely nothing to do with Sky Moore snaps. They did not go out and get somebody to do that. Now, what this could also mean is that Rashee Rice, who again, you guys are going to find out a lot more about tonight, could be playing more snaps on the outside in Justin Watson's role. This is something I allude to in my film room. I talk about specifically, but Mecole Hardman's a slot receiver. Rashee Rice is playing most of his snaps out of the slot to this point. Maybe
that's the bump.
You feel comfortable enough that you might end up seeing him play a little bit more on the outside and switching off with Sky a little bit more, which would put both of them in better situations,
better position. Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree. I go back to last season when it felt to me like they were trying to push Mecole to the outside, and that's part of why the decision to let him walk came in. So I do think Mecole can play outside. I mean, if you're an a press-heavy team,
he can run. He can run.
Yeah, is he going to get pressed to oblivion? Probably, but that's okay. Like, so there's a little bit more variability in there than I think maybe we thought a week ago. So that's good. I still come back to whatever it is. It should be in support of adding more to Rashee Rice than it is anything else.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yep. Over under 3.5 catches. I'm going to take the under first week, Eric.
Okay, so If we do some pop passes, I might take the over. Just
Oh, damn, I forgot about
do
that.
it.
That's a good point. Okay, I blew that one. Go with Dan, folks. Go with Dan. Terry, will Hardman get a starting role for the Chiefs?
No.
Not week one. I mean, could he? I mean, in terms of being in the top 3, he could walk right back into that here in another week or two. It could be that easy, but I don't know. 50-50.
I don't think so. Again, if they wanted him to be a starting receiver, he'd be in Kansas City. They let him walk. This is we're bringing him in to do what he does well because we don't really have that right now. And I think that Thursday night against the Broncos was a tall tale sign that they can't just run jet sweeps at anybody. It's not working. Mecole Hardman can do that better than anybody on this team.
And for those of you that want us to just stop talking about Sky, that's not going to happen. It's a
No,
second
it's not
round
gonna
draft
happen.
pick that they have a heavy investment in. The quarterback loves. We're not going to stop talking about him until he either absolutely fails or figures his shit out. One way or the other. That's what's going on. I do this for fun. Hey, me too, buddy. Is Hardman hurt? We don't think so. Not 100%. We'll find out. And if he's not, do you see him playing this weekend? I think he can walk in and probably play a few snaps.
Yeah, this can be very similar to the Toney trade, except it'll be a little bit different because he already knows the terminology. So he's not going to have an issue. Like, he's not going to have packages. They can just throw him out there. If he's up to speed, if he's healthy, if he's good to go, they can just throw him out there whenever because he knows the plays.
Yeah, he's going to be a little rusty. I mean,
you're not going to put him out there for 50% of the snaps.
That's what
that's not going to happen.
Yeah. But he should be capable. I got to hope so.
Yeah, for sure.
Rob, I mean, honestly, as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down, Mecole was hoping for this. Let's be real.
Right.
This helps Mecole as much as anyone. Rob, at what point does this receiver by committee going to hurt our team not having a true number one in the stable? Patrick seems to be struggling a little bit with this. It's not what's hurting it. It's Patrick just holding on to always wanting to have one. When Patrick just relaxes a little bit and deals and goes to the quick game, we see him be able to distribute the ball. I don't think the lack of it is hurting this team right now. I just think it's a lack of understanding what you truly have. I feel like Patrick's trying to put a square peg in a round hole a lot.
Yeah, and there was a tweet to both Ryan and I yesterday about how this could be a variation or a form of what Brett Veach did with the cornerback room, with the linebacker room, where sometimes the picture isn't quite clear until the third-ish year. Look at the linebacker room now. Everyone's pretty much saying it's a strength of the team. The cornerback room is 1,000% a strength of the team. If they go ahead and draft another receiver this year, which I fully expect them to do in 2024, draft another receiver in the first 3 rounds, this could be them trying to establish a wide receiver room that's young, that has a lot of different talents for the future. Like, just something that isn't ready quite yet. And maybe we all just kind of, myself included, thought that it would be a little bit earlier, but maybe the plan is a little bit later.
Yeah, fair enough. Jonathan, thanks for the super chat, pal. We're not going to be here long, so I appreciate you throwing it out there. Thank God I finally a guy who knows how to get upfield on those jet sweeps. I hope. Tired of seeing KT get just juking around. Exactly. Like, KT's first instinct is to juke no matter what happens, and that's
right.
You got to get vertical, bro. That's how this game is won. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate you. Thoughts on Frank Clark news? And Terry, you had said the same thing, that he's going to be in soon. Yeah, I mean, here's the number one thing for me. I felt that Frank again fell off last season. I certainly, for what I've seen in Denver, it's only gotten worse physically. But here's the thing: Frank Clark is an alpha dog, and he's going to bring that to this locker room. Chris Jones is a leader. Nick Bolton, they're leaders, but they're leaders by example in their play. They don't have that, F the world, bring it all on to us. Like, you need a little bit of Frank, especially for the younger guys who've kind of grown up under him, right? Like, somebody to push you in that direction.
Frank Clark is a fantastic locker room guy. They love him. That was very obvious from everything we've heard about him, the team, the way that they all talk about. Andy Reid loves Frank Clark. Andy Reid loves that guy. And he would be kind of an asset to, I think, again, to Karlaftis and a little bit more to FAU, because that guy needs a little bit of dog in him. Like, he needs a little bit of fight. He needs to learn a way to play a little bit like Frank in terms of the never say die kind of mentality. Sometimes you're always going to be trying to figure out a way to win and be a little more physical and play with that power at his weight. Because I think that, again, Frank last year at his weight, at his weight class, played maybe the best football of his career. And that would help, I think, with FAU.
I completely agree. And it also
Well,
shows that, like, if you're functionally strong, you can play lighter and get away with it. Like, I feel like FAU, it doesn't have the snap off the ball that he had in college. And I think that's either
maybe.
a weight thing or just a thinking thing. I don't know which, but either way, I think that it's a great example to show you what can be done. We're going to wrap it up here, folks, because, my 5-minute video is now gone 20 minutes. You guys know how I work, and I'm late for a meeting, but hey.
I add 10 minutes to every show. So
yeah, right. Hey. And Brother Rick, thank you, buddy. We said exactly the same thing. Let's not forget Mecole is a deep threat. And Mecole will help Rasheed and Justin Ross run through all of their routes because he's been here, been yelled at before. So
he knows what it feels like.
yeah, right. No, listen, Pat's serious when he says keep running. Okay. It's going to be good. I think it's a good inclination. We'll have more when Frank is in tow. I'll throw this up as a short as well, just to give you guys the news. If you're here, you've seen it. Dan's film room comes out in a couple of hours. You guys don't want to miss that because this shows you how the puzzle can come together. Really great work this week. Appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for jumping on too.
Oh, of course. I wanted to get everyone talking about this because,
yeah, right. Hey,
it's fantastic timing. Right before my film room, everyone was like, I think the Chiefs saw it and they were like, hey, let's go trade for Mecole Hardman and just put some news out there so that everybody doesn't talk about it.
So we're going to spend like 2% of the cap, not even, and get somebody back that can actually help right now. Go. Sure. Why not? All right. If you guys would hit the like, and if you're new to us, hit the sub. If you're just seeing us for the first time, this is RGR Football. This is what we do. So we'll talk Chiefs and we'll talk some other stuff. But you guys have a great afternoon. More coming in a couple hours, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.